Patcher may just be one of the most useful yet underrated stock plugins in all of FL Studio. The amount of things that you're able to do is really staggering, so I'm going to take you through a few of my favorite use cases so you can apply them to your own projects. So what is it that makes this plugin so powerful? Now there's a lot to say on why Patcher is useful, but to keep it simple, processing chains. But what do I mean by that? Well, on the mixer inserts, everything is set up one after the other, or in series. But with Patcher, you can split the signal and have multiple different sets of effects going without a direct impact on the signal next to it. Here, I'm using Patcher to split the signal of this sound into two separate signals and then applying an EQ to separate them into a range of frequencies. By doing that, we can apply all kinds of effects to just one set of frequencies without those effects impacting the rest of the sound. But this application for Patcher only really just scratches the surface. And that's because the Surface tab is where some of the other magic happens. In here we have what basically amounts to a bunch of macros that can be routed to any of the editable parameters within Patcher. So all we need to do to create these custom plugins is activate specific parameters and then link them to these macros, and we can do that by using these red nodes that appear. There's really no limit to how much you can cram inside of something like this, except maybe your CPU. Speaking of killing your CPU, we can even place instruments inside of Patcher and then really go crazy with the sound design by having all of the instruments and effects in one place. This one feature alone means you can basically design and EQ your sounds before it ever even goes to your mixer. So in this next clip, I'm going to show you how I'd make something like a simple pad inside of Patcher. So here we have our pad with a simple chord progression that I made. So what I did was create this serum with a few effects and a filter that's opening up. After that, I added a vintage verb to expand everything, a soothe to clean it up, followed by a tiny bit of OTT, and then everything gets filtered. And after all of that, we still have all of those slots on our mixer inserts that we can still use. Of course, I would still send this to the mixer to do things like proper sidechaining and then use those general mixer controls when arranging the entire track. But if you're feeling real adventurous though, we can even put another Patcher inside Patcher. But there's even more cool stuff inside Patcher that we haven't even talked about yet. And that brings us to these presets. These presets are kind of like pseudo plugins that can be fun to experiment with on your sounds. Here's what one of them sounds like on another pad sample. So to recap, Patcher gives us some pretty creative solutions to the 10-slot mixer inserts in FL Studio, and then provides us with an environment that can be as complex or as simple as we want. So you may want to open up Patcher the next time you work on your project.